Victor Esses, you're coming to the Harlow Playhouse. Tell us a little bit about the show that's coming.
Yes, it's amazing to be back at Harlow. I was there with a solo show a few years ago in 2021, I want to say, and we had such a lovely audience and yeah, just the energy in the room was so special, like very different from some other places. Like we toured to each place has its own character, but The Death and Life of All of Us is this new show that I'm bringing. It's a storytelling multimedia performance about secrets, about being authentic to who you are and survival. It focuses on my relationship to my great aunt. It's an autobiographical story about me visiting this great aunt in Rome, in Italy, 20 years ago. This woman had lost touch with the family for 30 years, and I decided to go and visit her. And then it's about our relationship. She was someone, so I grew up in a religious Jewish community, and she had grown up in this Jewish community in Lebanon, which is where my family is from. But then she moved away and she converted to Christianity, Catholicism, and she led this life. She had children, and she never told them about her Jewish identity. And I was very curious. I was studying film at the time, and I wanted to make a documentary about this aunt. So I sat with her for several hours, like with a camera, and just asked her lots of questions that you do when you're 19. Like, actually, the questions weren't too bad, but like nowadays, obviously, I would have maybe asked a bit more. But yeah, and then it was it's an important time for me when I was kind of coming into my queerness, like discovering who I was and how to position myself, having just left this community and out into the world. So there were parallels that I was trying to learn from her, and also learn what I didn't need to learn from her. Like what was the things that didn't work out that I needed to avoid. Yeah.
And that sounds like a very mature thing to do as a 19-year-old. I can tell you, as a 19, when I was a 19 in Harlow, I just want the camera on me and talk about me all the time. But that sounds like you were interested in people like that even as a teenager.
Yeah, like I was always interested. I mean, obviously, it's always a reflection on me. Like it's kind of how does she reflect my own story and all of our stories? But yeah, growing up as a gay man, or coming to realize that I was a gay man in a conservative environment, like that can be quite tough to kind of focus on your own history and your own story. And um yeah, but the idea of kind of getting those really key moments of stories always fascinated me, real stories and stories of other people and things that really moved me, because it's like, oh, this is a real thing that's happened to someone. And it was so interesting, like just to know this whole world, like that my parents were born in Beirut, and I had never been at that point to Lebanon. I grew up in Brazil. So I was very curious about this whole journey of things. I also knew the same thing my whole life, like one type of life in São Paulo, Brazil, in the community, and we were all kind of similar, and I just wanted more. Yeah.
You've mentioned so many countries there in a short space of time, Brazil, Lebanon, being in Rome. But people's backgrounds are complicated, aren't they? Or international. And you can live in the same town all your life, but you still may have a complicated, just go on to heritage and ancestry. And so when people say to you, where are you from, Victor? Do you find it's complicated?
I find it's complicated, but I agree with you that I find that we all have histories that we don't, focus on. Even people who's been in a place for generations, but at some point, some part of their family moved from somewhere else, and that's what makes us humans, you know. We move about and we, you know, over time. Um, yeah, it's complicated, but I think that's been the journey of my work as well, to make it less complicated and actually say it's a bit complicated, but it's exactly like you as an audience member. Like I have the same feelings. We go through difficulties like the same. We all have our unique stories and histories, but the way we navigate life, what we search for, you know, belonging, what we search for in terms of, I don't know, adventure, in terms of community, all of these things are things we crave as humans, and we're all the same. We just might do things in a slight different way. Yeah.
How long does it take for a show that you're bringing to Harlow? How long does it take to you actually to from first idea to first time perform? How long a period is that?
I think I take my time. Like it happens over a period of time, at least a year, but not like full-time work. This will be work like I will work for a couple of weeks in a research and development period. I will put it to rest for a bit. I will pick it up again a few months later, and I will then invite audiences into the rehearsal process to small audiences just to feedback and see how it interacts with them, because the work is very alive with the audience. It often has an interactive element. It's usually very mild, but it's an invitation for people to reflect on their own histories. So I might ask questions to the audience in my last piece. In this one, I ask questions, but you just say yes if you relate to it, and that just gives you that extra connection. And so I find that interaction very important, and the time to allow the process to do its own thing, like the intuitive thing of, you know, leaving something there, not control it completely, just like, okay, what do we need now? And kind of let it direct you, the work. Yeah.
Uh, okay. You were in Edinburgh Fringe last year. How did that go? All right, and are you planning to go up this year?
It went amazing. It was, yeah, we had loads of people coming through the doors, which was fantastic. And we had lovely reviews as well. Um, like we were saying a bit, it is a bit of a lot of work in terms of just your being there, like your presence in such a oversubscribed environment full of energy, intensity. It can it can't work for too long, I think. Like more than a month, I don't think people could do it. But it's an incredible way of interacting with other artists and see their work and get them more chances for other people to see your work. And it really helps on the journey of the project. But it's not something I think I can do every year, and therefore I will not be doing it this year. I also don't have a new show ready to take either. But yeah, it's something like, also there's the element of so many shows
Mhm.
that your work, I don't know if it, like in a mental in a psychological way, just like loses importance to your work. It doesn't lose, but yeah, suddenly you're part of like a big number of works that is, yeah, can do
Mhm.
it.
What do you love about performing?
I love the interaction, like just the energy in the room, and kind of know that for that amount of time, be it an hour, we're going to create a world together that will come to life, and then there's an end to it. And I love the process of making it and creating something, like allowing parts of our bodies that are not always just rational. They're just like, you know, intuitive, or yeah, go through a feeling, and to see how that reaches people as well. It's a joy to see when people get moved by it, or when they makes them think about something that they haven't before, and it makes them, maybe opens a world for them, and maybe sometimes they get uncomfortable with it, and what does that mean? Like that could also be a positive. So yeah, all these elements.
Do you have, I know it's not a career structure, we're not on LinkedIn, but do you have a career plan? Do you see yourself where you're going to be in 1 year time or 5 years time, or do you just work and create and see what happens?
I think I work more with direction, like rather than a strict plan, but I do have moments that I'll sit down and list the things I would like to happen, or the projects I would like to do, and in which direction I'd like to take in terms of making. And once I do that, like I just organically take myself there, and things seem to start then coming to me. I hear more about, yeah, if I, for example, when they want to write scripts, like then I start hearing that others are like writing it through this program or that, like it just starts happening organically. So it's a bit more fluid like that, I would say. Yeah.
And in the expressive arts, the performing arts, do you find there's a lot of platforms these days? Here we are on Zoom, and this will go on YouTube, but there are podcasts, there is actual performing. Is this a good time to be in the performing arts in what you do in other areas?
I don't know if it's the greatest time to be in the performing arts. I think it's, to an extent, an important time to be in the performing arts, and to keep making work that means something, work that challenges all our prejudices, challenges all of our injustices, social injustices, and that connects people. I think there are many difficulties of being in the performing arts at the moment. I think funding has been at times cut, and at other times it's been basically, as the inflation went on, a lot of the funding stayed the same, meaning it was cut in half without being cut in half as well to the arts, and there's lots of this going on. It's a bit of a tricky time with some kind of censorship at times in the arts. Yeah, there's lots of difficulties as well
But
as
in
joy.
conclusion, we'll finish on a high point. You've really encouraged people to come and see you, to find interest in your show and celebrate this life, your great art, this life.
Yeah, I hope I didn't go too bleak there. It's
That's
just
my fault.
in now. But yeah, absolutely. The show is a very intimate, joyful time. It has emotional parts of it, and it talks about our humanities, and yeah, memory, and the way, the way people, it is the life and death, kind of the death and life, as we say, of all of us, in terms of the way we present to the world, and the way that the image we put out, it also not going to last, because at one point, yeah, we depart. I don't want to finish in a low point, but yeah, it's definitely worth coming. I can say that.
Brilliant. Well, Victor, thank you very much for your time.